So what if the key to understanding the conflict between Iran and the United States wasn't in some high-tech war room, but in a strategic playbook written thousands of years ago? Well, today, we're going to deconstruct a really complex geopolitical puzzle with a surprisingly ancient key.
Just take a look at this statement from Iran's foreign minister. Now, this isn't just political bravado, It's a direct challenge to any conventional strategy. It really frames the core problem that we're going to unpack.
So it begs the question, right? How do you fight an enemy that basically defines itself as indestructible? Well, to find an answer, we're not heading to a modern think tank. No, we're diving into the ancient myths of India.
Okay, so our first strategic metaphor comes from the epic Ramayana. We're talking about the 10-headed demon king, Ravana, who is this incredible metaphor for a centralized but super resilient system.
See, in the story, Ravana's real power wasn't just his strength, it was his structure. You could literally cut off one of his 10 heads and another one would just grow right back. It meant he wasn't just one guy, he was a regenerative, multifaceted system of power.
And here's where it gets fascinating. You can pretty much map Iran's entire state structure onto this idea. Think about it. Each of these is one of Ravana's heads. You've got the supreme leader. That's the ultimate authority. The IRGC. That's the military might. The Quds force, running all the foreign ops. But it doesn't stop there. Even its sanctions-proof economic networks and its powerful ideology of martyrdom act as their own regenerating heads. Together, they create one incredibly resilient system.
We've actually seen this Ravana principle play out in real life. When the U.S. eliminated General Qasem Soleimani, the head of the Quds force, it was a huge blow. But it was like cutting off just one of Ravana's heads. The system didn't collapse. In fact, you could argue its proxy networks became even more active.
But here's the crucial point. Even Ravana had a weakness. The Ramayana tells us he could only be truly defeated by striking his Amrit Nabi, or his navel of nectar. This was the single hidden source that sustained all 10 heads. Any other attack? Pretty much useless.
So what's Iran's Amrit Nabi? Well, it's the massive economic empire of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC. They control an estimated 40% of Iran's economy. We're talking everything from construction to oil. This financial engine isn't just part of the system, it's the lifeblood that funds all the other heads.
But hold on, because Iran's power isn't just centralized like Ravana. It's also something much more decentralized and, frankly, way harder to contain. And that brings us to our second metaphor.
So let's jump to another text, the Devi Mahatmya, and meet a demon named Raktabeej. His name literally translates to blood seed, and he had this unbelievable power. Every single drop of his blood that hit the ground created a perfect, battle-ready clone of himself. The more you hurt him, the bigger his army got.
I mean, you can see the devastating cycle here, can't you? You attack, his blood spills, and your enemy just multiplies. It makes traditional warfare totally ineffective. In fact, it actually makes the whole problem worse.
This is exactly how Iran's proxy network functions. When the US or Israel strikes a group like Hezbollah or a militia in Iraq, the blood that spills, the martyrdom, the outrage, the call for revenge, it just inspires new recruits and strengthens the whole network's resolve.
And this really highlights the psychological power of this Raktabeej effect. Every direct attack just hands Iran a powerful propaganda tool. They can leverage this narrative of being the victim to fuel anger and drive recruitment all across the Middle East, turning every single loss into a strategic gain. So you see, Iran isn't just one of these threats, it's both. It has the centralized, resilient state structure of Ravana, but it also commands this decentralized, multiplying proxy network of Raktabeej. This dual nature is exactly why a single strategy, whether it's assassinations or airstrikes, is pretty much doomed to fail.
Okay, so this brings us to the solution, a hybrid strategy that learns from both of these ancient stories. So how was Raktabeej defeated? Well, in the story, the goddess Mahakali steps in. Her strategy wasn't to attack him head-on, but to stop the blood from ever touching the ground, stopping that cycle of regeneration right at the source.
This ancient wisdom gives us a modern, four-step plan. First, the Vibhishan approach, named after Ravana's own brother who defected, which basically means using intelligence from insiders. Second, the Navi focus. Go after the IRGC's economic empire to starve the system. Third, the Mahakali principle. Avoid those direct strikes that spill blood and create martyrs. And finally, the Mandodari signal, named for Ravana's wife who begged for peace, which means empowering Iranian civil society, the actual people who want change from within.
So what's the big takeaway here? What do we learn from applying these ancient frameworks to one of the most complex conflicts on the planet today?
These stories are not just tales about gods and demons. They are incredibly sophisticated playbooks on strategy, on governance, and on human psychology. They give us powerful metaphors that can help us analyze complex systems in ways that, modern theories sometimes just can't.
The source material we used for this explainer puts it perfectly. The nation that understands its ancient stories will also understand its present challenges and its opportunities. These aren't just relics of the past, they're tools for the future. Which leaves us with a final thought to chew on. If this ancient lens can help us deconstruct a modern war, what other complex problems, maybe in politics or business, or even in our own lives, could these timeless stories help us understand, and maybe even solve?